Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. We turn our attention now to some issues in the maritime sector. I'm being joined on the program by the chairman, Nigerian Ports Consultative Council, Kunle Folarin. Mr. Folarin, good morning, and thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me here.
It's an interesting time for the maritime sector. A lot of issues have been coming up. Let's talk about the concessioning.
Yeah.
What would you consider to be the major reasons why the government, decided to concession the ports in 2006?
Well, the maritime sector and the port industry is a very huge sector, and is in the commanding heights of the Nigerian economy. And when you consider that, you have to say that there's absolute need to have a kind of attitude that will propel the greater benefit of that industry. And government find that one of the major focus should be on productivity in the port system, reduction in cost of doing business, and attracting private sector participation in the industry. That is a huge investment profile. And I think the concession regime needs to be brought in because of the background of issues. One of the major issues is the lack of productivity in the port system, the high cost of doing business, the huge investment required by government to propel the industry. And government felt that there's a need to have a kind of regime that can deliver in this sector, concessioning being one of them. Basically, you are bringing private sector into play. You are bringing in outside investment into the sector. Therefore, you are also bringing in technical know-how of those who have done it before, thereby making sure that you can deliver on government's intention, that is, bringing productivity into the port, increasing efficiency, and reduction of the cost of doing business.
So it's been 9 years now since this concession was embarked on. Could you just tell us, have there been challenges, the success stories? What has it been like?
Well, it's been a mixed bag. Quite a lot of players in the sector have come with their own issues. Well, let's look at the consumer of port services, for instance. I'll say, well, we expect that the terminal operators or the concessionaires, as we know them, must come with expertise and also sufficient equipment to make productivity faster, so that we can get the benefits of reduction of cost of doing business. They complain on that. Then the concessionaire say, hold on, wait a minute. We also have an issue. The infrastructure of the port is not as good as we thought. The quay walls are falling apart. The quay aprons need to be fixed. And we expect that a lot of things will have been done before the concessioning. Oh, well, what about the other people? So there's a lot of people who have issues after the concessioning. And the terminal operators also have all the challenges they need to face. Huge investment is needed to turn around the ports. And that is the key. One of the reasons government has divested itself from doing business in the port is to make sure that there's an alternative. The concessionaire are the alternatives. So we expect that all the challenges that they will face over time, we got rid of. But I believe that there have been other success stories. There have been a reduction in dwell time of cargo in the terminal. The turnaround of vessels has also decreased minimally. And we are seeing that there's a huge interest of doing business in the port. And don't forget that the port industry is a very wide spectrum of many interest groups. We are looking at the importers, the exporters, the transporters, the forwarding agent, the clearing agent, the shipping companies, and all that. So we have to look at the interests of every party, and the statutory agencies are also in play in the port. So the whole port process, which the concessioning is just a part, has got that improvement on. And we're expecting that over time, the Nigerian economy will benefit from it. And that is why, at a point in time, people are saying we need a regulator.
So in terms of getting a regulator now, how will it be regulatory for the regulating all the list of agents, declaring, forwarding, all the rest of it, or regulating the ports? Because you see, we've had situations where there's a clash of portfolio of who is supposed to be doing what, and the issues now come up in such a way that you begin to have a backlog that prevents that particular sector, in this case now, the maritime sector, from moving forward. We've had issues with the clearing agents, we've had issues with the freight forwarders and the rest of it. And then we're looking at this very vibrant sector of the economy that is not picking up pace.
Well, let me say very quickly, the port industry has to be regulated. After all, banking and finance is regulated. The telecoms industry is regulated. We must have a regime of procedures and knowledge that people will know these are the standards to follow.
But then the regulator for the ports, Nigerian
Shippers Council.
Nigerian Shippers Council.
The Nigerian Ports Authority is a technical regulator.
Okay.
The Nigerian Shippers Council is an economic or commercial regulator. Within the purview of Nigerian Shippers Council, we have to regulate tariffs, port charges, and look at issues of demurrage, the issue of port congestion charges, dwell time, rents, and all that. So everybody's interest is within the purview of the Nigerian Shippers Council as a regulator, because the freight forwarder, the importer, looks to the Nigerian Shippers Council for solutions to his problems.
Sure.
The solution to the problem we have with the shipping companies or with the terminal operators on one side. And the terminal operators are also looking at the Shippers Council and say, please call these other cargo interests to order. We cannot have this terminal used as, or if you like, a restroom where you can put your cargo and come anytime you like, because it's giving us cost. We are incurring cost in doing this one. And that is why the Nigerian Shippers Council, coming at this time as an economic regulator, is precise, is timely, and it must be done quickly.
Now, is this move by the government to appoint a regulator a desirable one, or would you consider it to be the intention, or what would you consider to be the government's intention in this regard?
Well, government intention is basically, first of all, to make Nigerian ports competitive in the region. To be competitive, you must have high productivity, you must have minimum cost of doing business, there must be ethical values in the system, in the port system. And government also expects there must be investment in and modernization of the port. And these are critical issues that have to be addressed by government. And government is now saying that if we give a concession in, let us be a regulator to be the referee, the umpire.
But before doing the concessioning, could they have done the regulatory, looked at the fact that the Nigerian Shippers Council should become the port economic regulator before they decided to go ahead with the concessioning, and doing that, reducing the challenges that all parties would have faced?
Well, we must also understand there was no vacuum. The Nigerian Ports Authority were wearing several caps. As a technical regulator, assumed economic regulator, and commercial regulator. All complaints on the processes of the port were directed to the Nigerian Ports Authority. In actual fact, as that were, it was not sufficient, because the Nigerian Ports Authority continued to be an operator at that time. You cannot be an operator and be a regulator. So that is why I said they were wearing so many caps. So before that time, it was like there was no vacuum, there was a need, and somebody is feeling that need. But after concessioning, and the Nigerian Ports has divested itself from cargo operation, now the road is clear. There must be somebody to fill that position. And that is why Nigerian Shippers Council is now filling that position.
You've been the chairman of Shipping and Transport Trade Group of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industries.
Yes.
And there's been a number of challenges that you've had to face, including all of those ones that you've mentioned. So now that we have a port economic regulator, do you think that some of those challenges that are being faced by operators in the industry will be sorted?
Well, yes, I said earlier, when we look at the whole gamut of issues in the port industry, we should not look at it only from the perspective of the terminal operator or concessionaires alone. The whole port reform, in essence, was to look at issues of customs operations, look at statutory agency operations in the port, Nigerian Ports Authority's operations in the port, the cargo interests themselves, the importers and exporters, the manufacturer, quite a wide variety of interest groups in the port. And therefore, when people complain, perhaps those in the Chamber of Commerce all over Nigeria, for instance, I say, well, we're not having our cargo in time. I say, wait a minute. Are you paying your port dues? Wait a minute. Are they clearing your cargo on time? Or you are creating congestion in the terminal, in the port? So in other words, all the players themselves are being educated to play a part. So in the final analysis, we have an efficient, a workable, and a productive port industry.